This is the situation at the beginning of the game. The Italians have forces in two areas. Their main army is concentrated in Eritrea, and its secondary army is in Italian Somaliland. The main army is commanded by General Di Bono and consists of ground units totaling 107 combat factors and air units contributing 18 combat factors. In Eritrea, the Italians have two bases from which the units can draw supplies, and these are Massawa and Assab. In Italian Somaliland, the Italians have one base from which they draw supplies, which is this to Mogadishu space. And General Graziani, who's the commander, has 36 combat factors in his ground units and 12 in his air units. To win, the Italian player must capture the capital, Addis Ababa, with one of his army headquarters, plus 3 of the following 4 key towns: Gondar, Desi, Harar, and Negeli. Let's take a closer look at the starting forces. So here we start off the game with the Italian turn number 1. And this is the situation in the Eritrean front, the beginning of the Italian movement phase. These are the positions at the end of the first Italian movement phase. The plan here is to eliminate or retreat the Gugsa unit, occupy this space so that in the next attack against the 5th Ethiopian Army, it is completely surrounded and it would be destroyed if forced to retreat through enemy zones of control. Graziani will split his forces, send a screening force around here to block the road towards his base, and send his main forces down this road, eliminate this entrenchment, and go for the objective town of Harar. This is the situation at the end of the Italian movement phase. Let's zoom in on each one of the groups. The Italians set up a screening force here, taking advantage of the river, just in case the 9th Army comes down this road to attack them. The Italians surrounded the entrenched unit, which is a 610, and they will attack it in the combat phase. In their base, they left this regiment to act as a reserve, and these Air Force units will be available to assist in the attacks. Both air units are brought in support, and we go to the Italian combat phase. The result of the 6-1 attack is that the defender retreats 4 hexes. It is surrounded by enemy zones of control, so it is eliminated, and the attacker advances 4 hexes. These are the positions at the end of the advance. The units with asterisk advance 1 more hex because of the asterisk, and the air units return to their base. The Italians bring their air units in support of the attacks. We go into the Italian combat phase. The odds are here 10-1, but it's solved on the 8-1 column. The result is that the defender is eliminated and the attackers advance into the vacated hex. So the Italians do not occupy this hex, so the 5th Army is not surrounded. The result of the attack is that the defender retreats 2 hexes and the attacker advances 1 hex. In the Somaliland front, the main Italian force is moving towards Harar, while the screening force has been set up here. So we're going to see now the movements of the Ethiopian 8th Army in protecting that objective town. So now it's the start of the Ethiopian turn in turn number 1. These are the positions in the main Eritrean front at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase. So the position of the Ethiopian units at the end of the movement phase. 4th Army has set up a line here, and you have most of the 4th Army. You can see it's a very weak army in clear terrain, which is very dangerous for the Ethiopians because the use of air power there by the Italians is more effective. The 5th Army has spread and covered 2 hexes here, and the 2nd Army has advanced and has gone a little beyond the river into the Samba terrain here. The Third Army has moved all it can from the capital and is acting as a reserve in that position. There's no attacks on this front by the Ethiopians. These are the positions at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase in the area around Harar. These are the positions at the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. The 8th Army has set up a perimeter around this area, blocking the road on the way to Harar, and all units are in command within 2 hexes of their leader. The idea here is to hold on until more reinforcements can come up and help defend the area. In the Negeli sector, the 9th Army has moved towards the capital and has switched with this independent unit who will defend Negeli for now. This is the situation at the end of turn 1. We have the front along the Eritrean front here. And here's the situation around Harar. Meanwhile, reinforcements are on the way. 9th Army is moving south to join either the Harar defenders or the main front. Now it's turn 2, and it's the Italians' turn. This is the situation at the beginning of the Italian movement phase. Turn 2. The Italians have shifted their combat units to the left and attacked the 4th Army with the hopes of creating a breakthrough in clear terrain. The Italians bring in their air units. This is an 8-to-1 attack with these units supported by the headquarters. It is a defender eliminated result, and the attackers advance 1 hex. These 2 units are now surrounded. The attack against this unit is an 8-to-1 attack. The result is the defender has to retreat 4, it cannot. The attackers could advance 3, but they only can advance the space vacated by the destroyed combat unit. The last unit is attacked at 5-to-1 odds, and the result is that it has to retreat 2 hexes. It cannot, so it is eliminated, and the attackers can advance 1 hex. This is a situation around Harar before the Italian movement phase. Positions after the movement phase, the 4 unit that was in Mogadishu has been brought up to reinforce, and there are attacks here on the leftmost unit of the 8th Army, while the 29th Infantry Division guards the left flank. The Italians start the construction of an airfield also here in Korai, and they fly bomber unit in support of the attack here. Go now to the Italian combat phase. The result of the 5-to-1 attack is that the defender retreats 2 hexes and the attacker advances 1. In the sector around Negeli, the Italian troops there are constructing entrenchments that will be ready at the end of the turn. We move now to the Ethiopian second turn. They receive reinforcements. 7th Army, 18 combat strength points strong, begins in Gondar. An independent unit begins here at Goba. Situation at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase. The Italians have broken the line here. There's no Ethiopian units here. And the Ethiopians have to fill in these positions with the 3rd Army here, probably retreat the 5th Army, bring the 7th Army into play, and the 9th Army has to hustle back to this area also. The Ethiopians send their forces and spread them out, the 3rd Army here, and the 5th Army spreads out its units, trying to buy time for the arriving armies like the 7th and 9th Army to get into position. In the Harar section, the Ethiopian 8th Army also adjusts itself so that all units are in command, blocking the way to Harar. This is the situation at the end of the Ethiopian second turn. The Italians have advanced further inland. The Ethiopians have spread themselves thin in order to stop the advance. They haven't been able to set up any entrenchments because all their units have been moving. In the sector around Harar, the Ethiopians have been steadily retreating, and the Italian forces are approaching. In the Negeli sector, the Italians have set up entrenchments and they're not making any attempt at taking that city. So now it's turn number 3, and it's the Italians' turn. This is turn 3, Italian movement phase before the movement of the units. Positions at the end of the movement phase. The Italians are concentrating their divisions to destroy or push back the Third Army, try to gain crossings along the Mill River. They also begin the construction of an airfield here in Adigrat. They move their air units in support of the ground attacks. These are the position of the Italian forces near Harar before movement. These are the positions at the end of the movement phase. This 8th Army unit is completely surrounded. The Italians move the fighter unit to the airfield in Coraje, and they will bring the bomber unit from the Mogadishu hex in support of the attack. 6-1 attack results in an exchange. The defender is eliminated, but the Italians have to remove 4 factors. They remove this regiment, and they advance 1 hex. Let's go to the attacks against the Third Army. The first attack is on this unit by these units that are facing it. It is a 7-1 attack. The result is that the defender is eliminated and the attackers advance 1 space. The next attack is a 7-1 against this unit. The result is an exchange. Defender is eliminated and the Italians have to lose 5 combat factors, and they will eliminate this piece. They advance 1 space. This next attack here is also a 7-1 and also an exchange. The Italians have to take off and lose 5 strength points. They eliminate 1 of the Ascari divisions and they occupy the hex. At the end of the combat phase, the Italians did not break the line. They had some exchanges and lost actually a considerable amount of forces, but did not manage to cross this river line here. So the Ethiopians in their turn will be able to fill it again with units from another army. This will slow down considerably the Italians. It is now the Ethiopian third turn, and they receive considerable independent units. 210 in Goba, 210 here in Gere. They also received 3 510 units, which have 3 hexes as choice to start, and they place all 3 units here in Sekota. They can overstack placement. This is the situation at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase on the main front. These are the positions at the end of the movement phase. The Ethiopians started the construction of 2 entrenchments by the 9th Army. Elements of the 9th Army have started to cross the Awash River here. What's left of the 3rd Army is defending the juncture here behind the Mill River. The independent units have moved to take this part of the line, and the 2nd Army has actually began to cross the Takasa River here in front of these 2 Italian divisions. The positions before the Ethiopian movement phase on the Harar sector. This independent unit arrived from the road here and is in Harar, and the line has fallen a little back to cover the city. Go now to the fourth turn, and it's the Italians' turn, November 1. These are the positions, the beginning of the Italian movement phase on the Harar sector. These are the ending positions at the end of the movement. The Italians are concentrating on attacking this unit, which is 2 hexes away from Harar. For that purpose, they bring in support the 2 air units in that sector also. These are the positions at the beginning of the Italian movement phase on the main front. These are the positions at the end of the movement phase. Italians are making attacks on 3 units, the remainder of the Third Army, which is holding the river line here, and these 2 independent units, which are holding the sector here in the middle between the Second Army and the Fifth Army. Units are brought in support of all 3 attacks. We go to the combat phase on the main front. The first attack against this unit by these units results in contact, so they remain where they are. The 5-1 attack against this unit sends it back 2 hexes, and the attackers advance 1 hex. The 5-1 attack against the Third Army also results in a contact, so all units remain where they are. The Harar sector, the 8-1 attack against this unit sends it back 4 hexes, and the attacker can advance 4 hexes. Interesting situation here is Graziani has units that can ignore zones of control and advance 1 more. So we have these motorized units that can ignore zones of control. They could advance up to 5 hexes, but we're not going to advance the full 5. The result calls for 4, so the infantry and the headquarters can advance up to 4. And all these units are in supply because Graziani can trace a line of supply here. At the end of the Italian turn, the contact result is not that bad because it allows these 2 stacks of Italian units to remain on the river, which would force now the Ethiopian Third Army either to move out of the zone of control of these units or have to attack them in the next turn. Similar situation happens here with this 5-10 independent unit. In the Harar sector, the advance of these motorized units and the infantry adjacent to Harar now forces the Ethiopian player to also decide whether to hold the city and attack all these Italian units or to move out of the city. It is now the Ethiopian 4th turn, and now they receive the 6th Army, which is their largest. It begins the game in the capital. These are the starting positions of the units at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase. These are the positions at the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. The Ethiopians have moved the 6th Army to this area here. Some of their units have taken the place of the 9th Army units that were in the entrenchments in order to preserve them. The 9th Army has moved further to this area to stop the Italians in the next turn. The 3rd Army retreated so that it didn't have to attack, and the 7th Army spread out in front of Dese. Here we have the 5th Army with some independent units covering this sector here in the mountains, and the 2nd Army has actually has crossed a unit across the river in order to next turn outflank the Italian 30th Division. Situation at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase in the Harar sector. This unit is out of supply. The 8th Army headquarters cannot trace a line of supply. This other unit here is disrupted because it is more than 2 hexes away from the headquarters. So the movement phase begins with those bad news for the Ethiopians. At the end of the movement phase, the out of supply headquarter and unit moved. They can still move their full movement allowance. They move to within 2 hexes of the disrupted unit and this unit, which together with the independent unit are attacking the Italian motorized unit. In this attack, since the Italian is in a jungle hex, he does not receive the benefit of the mountain terrain, but he receives, worse yet, a 1 column shift to the right for being in jungle. So this 10-4 attack, instead of being 2-1, it is a 3-1 attack. Defender has to retreat 2, and the attackers advance 1. Now this attack forces the Italians, if they want the city that much, to have to attack both Ethiopian units in the next turn. At the end of turn number 4, in the main front here, the Second Army is about to surround an Italian division in this front, so the Italians will have to send more forces there. And they seem to have formed a pretty solid line and deep line of defense around here. Meanwhile, their biggest army is arriving and will probably be constructing more entrenchments in the near future. In the Harar sector, the Italians managed to push the Ethiopians out of Harar, but the attack by the Ethiopians managed to gain a foothold on the suburbs, and therefore the Italians must decide whether to occupy the city and attack the Ethiopians or wait until they can push them out. Now we go to the 5th turn, and the Italians receive reinforcements. The Italians receive 2 regular infantry divisions at Massawa, and they receive a mechanized infantry unit at the to Mogadishu space. Situation at the beginning of the Italian movement phase around the city of Harar. In order to facilitate the view of the town and the surrounding hexes, we're going to take out the washer. The Italians concentrated their positions around Harar. They retreated a unit here in order to not attack on this turn, but they have now 4 combat units adjacent to Harar. In addition, this new reinforcement is moving up to the front. In addition, the Italian is rebasing the fighter unit that is at Korai and is flying it to Assab. Also, the bomber unit that is at the to Mogadishu space is also rebasing to Assab. These are the positions at the end of the Italian movement phase. The Italians are attacking with 3 divisions, which include the 2 new divisions that arrived, this unit from the Second Army, and they're also attacking with all 3 air units that did not change bases, these 2 Ethiopian units of the 9th Army. The 2-1 attack here results in contact, so everything remains the same, and the Ethiopian unit will probably have to retreat during the next turn. 3 air units were used. The airstrike only managed to disrupt both Ethiopian units. Moving now to the Ethiopian 5th turn, and they receive 1 independent unit as a reinforcement. The independent unit starts at the capital. This unit is no longer out of supply, nor this unit is disrupted. This is the situation on the main front, the Eritrean front, at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase. The situation along the Italian line looks precarious, specifically here, where the units that are manning the front lines actually have a headquarters with 3, this regiment with 4 factors, and this black shirt regiment with 3. So there may be an opportunity to launch a frontal assault on those 3 units in this turn for the Ethiopians. The Second Army unit was retreated towards the river in order to not get isolated. So the Second Army is still manning this line here. The 5th Army launched an attack against this headquarter units, while the 7th Army is attacking the Askari infantry regiment. The 3rd Army is holding the line in front of the city together with the 6th Army that has moved into this position, covering most of the city's right flank. The 9th Army has filled this position here. Near Harar, the 8th Army adjusted its position to form a line at the outskirts of Harar. We move now to the Ethiopian combat phase. A 3-1 attack against the Italian headquarters results in a contact, so all units remain in the same position. A 3-1 attack against the Askari regiment results in an engaged result. So they will fight it out next turn. This is the situation at the end of turn 5. The line has remained mostly static here. The Italians haven't been able to advance up the valley. However, they have disrupted a unit. These units will defend at half strength next turn. So there's an opportunity now for a push for the Italians up the valley. And in addition, they have received reinforcements, 2 new divisions. They will be receiving a motorized division, very powerful division this turn. And they have reinforcements coming up to the Harar sector. So there is an opportunity for the Italians in maybe 1 or 2 turns to mount a major attack through the valley where the Ethiopians do not have the advantage of the mountainous terrain. The game now moves to the Italian 6th turn, and they receive this Askari unit. This Askari unit is very powerful, and it has the choice of either appearing in Asmara or Adigrat. We're going to start it in Adigrat. This is the position at the end of the Italian movement phase. The Italians are executing a ground attack with air support against these 2 disrupted units from the Ethiopian 9th Army, and airstrikes against units of the 6th Army and the 9th Army, with the hopes of at least disrupting units so that in the next turn their combat strengths are halved and they're easier to attack. The positions around Harar before the Italian movement phase. The final position of the Italian units in the Harar section. Now to the Italian combat phase. This 1 attack resulted in the defenders retreating 4 hexes and the attackers advancing 3. The attackers can only advance 1 hex because they immediately land in the zone of control of another Ethiopian unit. The airstrike against these units is ineffective, as well as this airstrike. Strikes against the 9th Army, however, disrupt these units. We go now to the 6th Ethiopian turn, and they receive 2 independent units. This 210 starts here in Virje Alem, 3311, and this 510 starts here in Jima. Here we'll see the situation in the main front at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase. These are the positions at the end of the movement phase. The 6th Army has filled the position previously held by the 9th Army, which has all its units disrupted. The 9th Army deployed back of the line in order to not offer an opportunity for the Italians to attack them at half strength. And we have the Waship Pasha engineer unit that, if given an opportunity in the next turn, can construct some entrenchment hexes in those spaces. The attack here will be repeated in the combat phase with the addition of the Ethiopian 5th Army, which is also adjacent, but everything else on the line stays the same. These are the units before the movement phase, Ethiopian movement phase in the Harar sector. The 8th Army has shifted its position slightly in order to prevent the Italians from advancing in this direction towards the capital. We go to the Ethiopian combat phase. Now we have the 7th and 5th Armies attacking this Askari regiment. It is a 7-1 attack, and they rolled successfully for coordination. So let's solve the attack. The result is that the defender is eliminated and the attacker can advance 1. So the 7th Army advances with most of its elements, and this will force the Italians in the next turn to either attack them or have to withdraw. Looking at the situation at the end of the 6th turn, The line remains stable in this part of the front. However, the Ethiopian 7th and 5th armies have launched an attack near the town of Maiseu, which has already destroyed an Italian unit and will force either to other Italian units to attack or withdraw. The Italians have crossed the Mill River and may in this turn link their forces with those of Graziani here, which may be an interesting situation, and will definitely be using air power to disrupt or try to destroy units which are in the open. Now in the next turn, the Ethiopians will receive the Emperor and his guard units, which will enter the capital and probably move quickly to attack or assist in the defense of the valley here. So we go now to Italian turn number 7. Situation presents itself for the Italians. With the attack of the 5th and 7th Ethiopian armies, they concentrated most of their force in this area. And on the flanks, they have this unit, which looks pretty vulnerable, and the remnants of the 3rd army, which are not very impressive. The Italians may attack those two units in a pincer-like fashion to try to surround and trap these two Ethiopian armies. These are the positions at the end of the Italian movement phase. They are attempting a pincer attack. They are attacking this independent unit, but by placing units here, they would have to attack this unit too, so the 5th Infantry Division will make a soak-off attack here. Now, in this sector, there are two Askari units and black shirt units attacking with support of headquarters of Debono and Corps headquarters and 2 air units, the 3rd Army, to try to surround the 7th and the 5th Army. In addition to that, there's more action to this side, which we will show in a while. In the area near Harar, Graziani's forces joined with the new reinforcement that came up, which is the this unit, plus the 9th Infantry Division from Debono's army, and they're attacking elements of the 8th Army with support of the air unit there. If these units get an advanced result, they can ignore zones of control and get behind the units of the 6th Army. First to this attack, the 6-1 attack results in an exchange. The independent unit is eliminated, but so is one of the Italian divisions, and they can advance 1 hex. This 5-on-1 attack causes the retreat of this unit 4 hexes. So it moves 3, 4, and the attackers can advance 3. So the attackers can advance 3. Advance in the first space. They have to stop here for the zone of control. And they're going to stop there. The 8-1 attack against this unit eliminates it. And the attackers can only advance 1 hex. Finally, the soak-off attack here. The attacker retreats 1, and the defender can advance 1, but the defender will elect to stay there. The situation at the end of the Italian 7th turn, they have surrounded these units, but only one of them has to attack in the next turn. The line looks thin here. There's no Ethiopians in front, so that's going to create a problem for them. In the valley, the Italians have eliminated 1 unit of the 8th Army and have linked Graziani's and Debono's forces there. So we go now to the 7th turn, and this is a turn where the Ethiopians receive the Emperor and his guard units. This is now the Ethiopian 7th turn. These are the units that the Ethiopian receives You have here the Emperor, and these are all guard units from the Emperor, plus full division, 810 unit. These reinforcements start at the capital. Situation in this particular area of the front is critical, since there is a gap here where the Italian units, if unchecked, can advance up to here in their next turn. So the Ethiopians will have to pull units from other fronts and perhaps the guard units to plug that gap. Okay, we start the movement phase by marking these 3 units with out of supply markers. In order to signify that these units are out of supply and we can still see the units, we've placed some yellow disc below them. So they're out of supply 1, that's their status. These are the positions on the main front at the beginning of the Ethiopian movement phase. You see here that the Emperor and his guard units have moved from the capital to attack this black shirt division. Also the new unit of the Army of the Ministry, the division, is also attacking, but attacking this regiment together with elements of the 6th Army. The 6th Army is holding the line in the valley together with the 9th Army. And if we take a look into the sector around Harar, we see that the remnants of the 8th Army are adjacent to Harar and Dire Dawa, and more independent units have been brought to this area to hold the Italian advance. In the first attack, all but one of the guard units and the 7th Army is attacking this 9-7 black shirt division, which is out of supply. It cannot trace a line of supply without entering an enemy zone of control. So that means they're going to defend with 5 combat factors. This is a 7-1 attack. The result is that the defender is eliminated and the attackers advance 1 hex. So all the guard units that were attacking advance. We go now to the next attack. This is another 7-1 attack, and the Ethiopians get to those odds because in both of these attacks they have committed the guard. They are now 1 column shift to the right. The result is that the defender has to retreat 3. It cannot, so it is eliminated, and the attacker advances 2. So these are the positions at the end of the advance. The Army of the Ministry has placed itself adjacent to Debonos' headquarters. At the end of the combat phase, we see that the 7th and the 5th Army are no longer out of supply, and the Ethiopians have concentrated most of their forces in this area, facing weak Italian opposition. 2 headquarter units are in contact with the enemy at this time. The action moves to the 8th Italian turn, and they receive reinforcements. The Italians place both reinforcements, a black shirt division and a mountain regiment in Massawa. These are the positions after the movement phase. The Italians are launching a series of airstrikes, one here against the Emperor and his guards, another one against the Army of the Ministry unit, another one against 6th Army headquarters and units there, and 2 units have been sent in support of this attack here, which to perform it, the Italians entered Harar and are attacking the remnants of the 8th Army together with these mechanized units in hopes of making an advance that will allow them to surround other Ethiopian units. So we go now to the Italian combat phase. The airstrikes against the Emperor and his guard units are ineffective, as well as the airstrike against the Army of the Ministry. Also, the airstrike against elements and the headquarters of the 6th unit is also ineffective. This is a 2-to-1 attack. Despite all this support, and the result is that all units are engaged in combat. So at the end of the Italian combat phase, we can see that all the attacks, specifically the air attacks, were ineffective, as well as the attack by Graziani's units here to break the line in the Harar section. It is now the Ethiopian 8th turn. There's no reinforcements. The 7th and 5th Army are no longer out of supply, so we remove the yellow discs. These are the positions at the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. They are attacking in two spots. The 6th Army is attacking this Askari division and Black Shirt Regiment here. And we have the 7th and 5th Armies attacking jointly the Italian 5th Infantry Division. They have to roll for coordination to see if the attack is coordinated. The attack here was coordinated, and the result is that all units are engaged in combat. Here, these Ethiopian units, the first two in this hex, are attacking the Askari division at 3-1. The result of the attack is that the defender retreats one space and the attacker advances one. The next attack is with the last unit, bottom unit in this stack here. It's a soak-off attack against the Black Shirt Regiment, and it is a 1-2 attack. The attacker has to retreat 2 hexes, and the defender can advance 2, but in reality won't be able to advance into the attacker's hex because there's other units there. 9th Italian turn. The Italian units are facing strong Ethiopian formations here in the middle of the line, which threaten with dividing their line in two, while having substantial number of units locked and engaged in combat. Not much movement by Italian ground units. The engaged attack is going to be to take place again here with the support of these two units. There's airstrikes on units of the 6th Army, while none of these other Italian units are initiating any combat. The result of the attack is again that all units are engaged in combat. In the 3 airstrikes, there were disrupted results in 2 of them. Situation at the end of the Italian turn. There is a gap here in this sector. However, there are disrupted Ethiopian units in the area. There's a significant number of units still locked in combat. It is the Ethiopian 9th turn, and they receive reinforcements. Reinforcements are not very significant. 2 210 units here in Jima and another one in Gere. At the end of the Ethiopian movement phase, the attack between engaged units will be repeated here. In addition, the Emperor and his guard units move to this position, protected here in order to not expose themselves unnecessarily. So in this sector, even though their position remains open, the Ethiopians have not made any attempts to exploit it so far. However, in the Harar sector, the independent units are beginning an advance and the crossing of the Tug River with 2 units in order to try to outflank and surround the 29th unit in the next turn. The result of the 4-on-1 attack is that the defender has to retreat 3 spaces and the attacker can advance 2. And these are the troops that advanced. Now we move to the Italian 10th turn, and the track reads that Italian air units begin using poison gas. Poison gas has a significant impact on the air strike chart. For example, if you have one Italian unit air unit attacking in clear terrain without poison gas, you would have to roll a 3 for a disrupted result and a 1 for a defender eliminated result. Gas attacks use these rows here. So now, with just one unit in clear, with a 1 or a 2, it's a defender eliminated, and 3 or 4, it is disrupted. Situation for the Italians is critical in this front. As we stated before, there is a gap in this line, even though these units are disrupted. And worse yet, with the last attack by the 7th Army, now there's a gap in this area also. So there's a big hole that may cause more Italian units to become isolated if not taken care of. With modifications, this is actually a 2-to-1 attack here. So the 2-to-1 attack produces 5 contact result, so nothing else happens. In the rest of the front here, the Italians have sealed the gap with these units here in front of the Ethiopian 7th and 5th Army, and there are airstrikes against the 6th Army headquarters and these 2 independent units. The airstrike against the 6th Army's headquarters results in no effect at all. However, the airstrikes against the 2 independent units destroy both units, and this is a big loss for the Ethiopians, who lose that powerful 8-10 Army of the Ministry division. Situation at the end of the Italian turn in the Harar sector. Harar is in the hands of the Italians with a contact result, meaning that the 8th Army either has to attack these units or withdraw. Meanwhile, 2 independent units will be crossing this river and may be attacking the 29th unit. In the main sector, this gap still exists. However, for the Ethiopians, you have to remember they may not move to an hex, which they will place themselves out of supply, meaning more than 7 hexes away from a road leading to a supply source. So that curtails them a bit in extending themselves in this direction. Now the game moves to the Ethiopian 10th turn. Even though the Ethiopians may not be able to move their units all the way down to this hex, they may surround this Italian 410 unit. At the end of the movement phase, you see that there's not much changes here. The 7th Army moved to this position, just a blocking position. Now in this sector, the 9th Army, which was here, moved down here to block these units, and the 6th Army, which is the largest army, is completely surrounding this Askari unit with the hopes of destroying it and advancing to cut off these Italian units and create a bigger hole there. Now this unit, because it is surrounded, is out of supply, so it defends with 2 combat strength points. So this is actually a 15-1 attack, which is resolved on the 8-to-1 column. And the result is very favorable. Defender back 4, defender cannot retreat, it is eliminated, and the attacker can advance 3 hexes. The positions at the end of the advance, and you see that there's 3 6th Army units in contact with this stack here, putting pressure on them either to attack him or having to retreat in the next turn. Now we go to the Italian 11th turn, and they receive an air unit and more reinforcements. These are the units that they receive: a bomber unit, artillery regiment, very powerful mountain division, a black shirt division, and 2 corps headquarters. All of the units start in Massawa. The Italians have not made any ground attacks. They have tried to consolidate their positions along the front, but they are making a considerable number of airstrikes here, a total of 6 airstrikes, in the hope of disrupting or destroying as many units as they can. The result of this airstrike is that one unit is destroyed. The defending player chooses this combat unit to destroy. The attack against this unit is a disrupted against all units. The attack here produced no results. The attack against the 7 army produces a destroy one unit result, so they choose this unit. This attack, they rolled a 2, destroy one unit. They destroy the 4th unit. The last airstrike, the result is disrupted. So all units of that army are disrupted and we return the plane. Thanks to the poison gas and airstrikes alone in this turn, the Italian destroyed 3 units. Move on now to the Ethiopian 11th turn. This is the position of the Ethiopian units before the movement phase. These are the positions at the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. The 6th Army swung this way and is attacking this mechanized unit from the rear in hopes of bagging the whole of Graziani's force. The 9th Army, which has some units disrupted, covered this position in order to hold the line. And there's no battles in the other side of the front. Units are just forming a line, making sure that there's no gaps. The result of the 2-1 attack is that the defender retreats 1 hex and the attacking Ethiopians advance 1 hex into Jijiga. So this is a situation at the midway point of the game. At the end of the Ethiopian 11th turn, we see the line of units forming here in the mountains. In the valley, the Ethiopians have lost considerable forces, but they still hold a line there. And meanwhile, in the Harar sector, the Ethiopian 6th Army is trying to envelop the forces there of Graziani together with a black shirt unit. So the Italians will have to send reinforcements that way, but the problem is there's no line of communication anymore between both forces. There's not a continuous line there. So we're going now to the Italian 12th turn. Okay, Italian turn number 12. This is the situation in the main front at the beginning of the movement phase. This is at the end of the movement phase. The Italians are concentrating on destroying or retreating the 7th Army, and they will attack this disrupted army, which is the 5th Army with air support that is coming up. This is a situation in the Harar sector. The Italians deployed the headquarters here and the units here supporting the attack against these Ethiopian units. In addition, they brought 3 air units in support. Italians also brought air units to their attacks in the main front. The 7-1 attack against this unit retreats at 4 hexes, and the attackers advance 4. 2 units advanced, 1 stayed behind. The 4-1 attack against the disrupted army retreats at 2 hexes, and the attackers advance 1. Now this unit is surrounded. This last attack is resolved on the 8-1 column. The result is the defender retreats 4, it cannot, so it is eliminated. The attackers advance 3. The 3 infantry divisions take advantage and exploit the advance to move adjacent to Ethiopian units that will have to decide whether to attack them in their turn or withdraw. Despite all the apparent power of the Italians here, this attack is a 2-1 attack because the defenders are in mountain and all the attackers are on river hexes. The result is favorable to the attacker. The defenders retreat 2 spaces and the attackers advance 1. At the end of the Italian turn, the Italians have withdrawn from this part of the valley to strengthen their positions in this area and successfully mounted an attack that destroyed 1 unit and advanced within 3 hexes of Desi, which is another objective town. In the Harar sector, they managed to retreat elements of the 6th Army that were threatening with surrounding them here, and have placed units adjacent to such 6th Army units. That's the Ethiopians' 12th turn. They have 1 reinforcement. Reinforcement is this regiment that enters in the capital. The Ethiopians formed this line and are not attacking on the main front. The 5th Army deployed closer to Desi, and the new reinforcement unit, which is a free stacking unit, is stacking with the 7th Army. The 9th and 8th Armies are attacking the 1st Black Shirt Division, and the 6th Army has concentrated in this area to make an attack on these 2 Italian units. The result here is that the defender has to retreat 2 hexes and the attacker advances 1. So this means that the Ethiopians recapture Harar. The 1-on-1 attack here ends with an engage result, so engage markers are placed on all units. At the end of the 12th turn, we've seen that the Italians have made some progress in this area at the expense of giving up territory in the valley. However, the Ethiopians still present a threat on the Harar sector, which they also have managed to capture the objective town there. Now we go to the 13th Italian turn. Italians have shifted all their major units to their left flank. They're making a river attack against this independent unit, the Ethiopian Guard unit and regiment there, and the new reinforcement, which is with the elements of the 7th Army. Ethiopians brought 4 units to support the attacks on the main front. In the Harar sector, the Italians shifted their main force to the left, and they are attacking these 2 units that are crossing the river with their support. The first attack against the 610 unit results in an engaged result. The attack against this unit retreats it 4 hexes, and the attacker can advance 4. They stop here upon entering the zone of control. This attack here is resolved on the 8-to-1 column, and the result is a 5. Defender and attacker. Defender retreats 4, attacker advances 4. The 4-to-1 attack against the guard unit that is surrounded results in 1. D back 4, A advances 3. The guard cannot retreat. It is eliminated, and the attackers advance 3. The 4-to-1 attack against these units retreats it 3 spaces, and the attackers advance 2. So the attackers have to stop in the first hex here because of the zone of control of the 5th Army. You see, at the end of the Italian turn, they have managed to break the line in the valley, cross both rivers, and are again threatening the units up the valley towards the capital, Addis Ababa. Now we move to the Ethiopian 13th turn. The Ethiopians have pulled back to form a line here. The 5th Army is in this position, adjacent to Desi in case the Italians occupy the city. What's left of the 7th Army and these independent units and the 9th Army have formed a line here. The 9th Army came rushing from the Harar front to form this line to stop the Italians advancing up the valley. In the Harar sector, these independent units moved here to this position to stop the advance of this Italian division. The 8th Army still holds to Harar, and the 6th Army has to re-attack the Italian units that were engaged in the previous turn. The result of this attack is that the attackers have to retreat 2 hexes and the defender can advance 1. So the defender advances 1 hex. The result of this 1-in-1 attack is the defender retreats 2 hexes and the attacker can advance 1, which would be here, but instead the 8th Army prefers to stay in Harar. Moving on now to the Italian 14th turn. They receive 2 Askari infantry regiments, which are motorized, and they begin at Mogadishu. Let's start with the situation around Harar. The Italians will now repeat the attack here that caused the engaged result, but with the assistance now of the 29th Infantry Division. Now the Italians have shifted their combat units to the right of the line, attacking here the remnants of the 3rd Army and these independent units in an effort to push through the mountains and enter Dese through this side, while using these remaining units to hold the 9th Army and the other units in the valley. See here the attacks on these units are being supported by air units, and we have an airstrike against this unit of the 9th Army here. The first attack against Unit B retreats it 4 hexes, and the attackers advance 3. So the advance of those units surround here of zones of control the 3rd Army, which is about to be attacked, and independent unit I, which will be attacked in this turn also. A 4-to-1 attack against the 3rd Army is an exchange, so it is eliminated, and the Italians have to eliminate 7 strength points and they can occupy the space. Italians destroy the black shirt division, and they occupy the space with the mountain unit. 5-1 attack against this unit forces it to retreat 4 hexes, and the attackers can advance 3, but they'll only be able to advance 1 because they are entering the zone of control of these 2 units. This attack is resolved in the 8-to-1 column. It's a defender eliminated, and the attackers advance 1 hex. The airstrike using poison gas destroys this 9th Army unit. Near Harar, the attack on the independent unit forces it to retreat 2 hexes, and the attackers advance 1. At the end of the 14th Italian turn, we've seen that the Italians have established a breakthrough in this area here in the mountains. They are ready to exploit it in the direction of Gondar, which is this objective city here, and about to attack Dese at the same time. However, their forces in the valley seem to be weak and exposed to considerable Ethiopian forces. In the Harar sector, they have been able to push back several weak independent units here and establish a line while awaiting the new reinforcements, which are these 2 regiments, which will be in line in the next turn. Now it is the Ethiopian 14th turn. They have 2 reinforcements. They enter at the capital. This is the situation at the beginning of the movement phase on the main front. The Ethiopian 2nd Army has stretched itself to cover this area here. Independent unit is placed here between the 2nd and the 5th Army that has retreated from Dese to establish a defensible line here in order to block these forces from continuing to advancing on the capital. However, the Ethiopians have placed forces adjacent to Dese in case the Italians want to occupy it next turn. Interesting the situation here. The 6th and the 9th Army are attacking these units here. The 6th Army has surrounded this Askari, 2nd Askari Division, and they will try to see if they can wipe it out this turn. Meanwhile, in the Harar sector, we have that the Ethiopians have established a line along this river here, and have also anchored the line here around Harar. The attack against this black shirt unit was coordinated between both armies, and the result is that the defender has to retreat 4 hexes and the attacker advances 3. The advance now surrounds the 2nd Askari Division. Because the Italian unit is now surrounded, this is a 4-to-1 attack, but the result is that all units are engaged in combat and the attack will be resolved at least in the next turn. At the end of the Ethiopian 14th turn, this is the situation. They have managed to form a line here by stretching the 2nd Army and deploying independent units here and the 5th Army in this area. They have units adjacent to Dese, and the attack managed to push back the Italians, and they have a unit practically surrounded in the valley. In the Harar sector, they have managed to also form a line anchored here on the objective town of Harar. It is now the Italian 15th turn. Situation on the main front, it is worthy to mention that the Italians only have 8 turns left to accomplish their victory conditions, and as the game stands now, they have not seized a single objective city. The surrounded Askari unit here is marked with this out of supply marker. The Italians are using their air forces here to make a push here in the area close to Gondar. You see also that they have left to their own devices the surrounded and out of supply Askari Division here. The most they have done is an airstrike against this unit here of the 6th Army. In the area around Harar, the Italians kept their line and just moved forward the 2 units of Askaris. The air assault only managed to disrupt the engaged Ethiopian unit. Here, these units with headquarters support and air support are attacking this independent unit, which is in massif terrain. It is a 5-to-1 attack, and it forces the unit back 2 hexes, and the attackers can advance 1. Similarly here, the 6-1 attack against this unit forces it back 2 hexes, and the attackers can only advance 1 hex. And finally here, this 3-to-1 attack results in an exchange. So the Italians lose this black shirt mountain unit, and this unit has the option of advancing here, and it will do so. Situation at the end of the Italian turn. Although the Italians keep on gaining ground, it seems that their attacks are more localized now. They don't have the sufficient force to attack along various points of the front, and every time they open a gap, the Ethiopians can plug it, and they have 7 turns to go to accomplish their victory conditions, and still they haven't captured a single objective town. So now we go to the 15th Ethiopian turn. The Ethiopians fall back. Their 2nd Army is basically the outskirts of Gondar and has shifted to this position. This independent unit that was up here moved down here to cover the river crossing. We have another weak independent unit covering this flank here, the jungle and the river. And the Fifth Army shifted its position here in the middle of the advance of the Italian infantry. Still, the city, Dese, nobody occupies it, but the Ethiopians have units adjacent to it. And the Ninth Army is beginning to cross the river in order to come to the aid of the units in this sector, while the Sixth Army will repeat its attack on the surrounded Askari unit. In the Harar sector, the Ethiopians units remain in place in the same positions as before. Here in this 6-to-1 attack, the defender is eliminated and the attackers can advance 1 hex. Just to give you an idea of the casualties, the losses at this point, these are the losses on the Ethiopian side. You see that the whole Third Army and Fourth Army have been eliminated, and considerable forces of the 7th and 8th Armies also. In addition, the Guards Division was eliminated, and some independent units, including the Army of the Ministry Division, was also eliminated. Now, on the Italian side, even though the losses are less in terms of number of units, the quality of the units eliminated is significant. You have a total of 2 black shirt divisions and 2 regiments. You have 2 Askari divisions and 3 regiments. And you have a regular infantry division and the motorized cavalry unit. So these Italian forces are sorely missed now in the final push to obtain the objectives to win the game. Moving along now to Italian turn 16. The Italians do not attack many units here. They just have 1 attack here on the 2nd Army, supported by 2 air units, and their fighter unit is redeploying itself to the airfield here in Adigrat. In addition, the Italians have repositioned their forces here around Dese and will be conducting airstrikes against elements of the 6th Army, and there will be 3 units attacking these units here. These are the positions before the movement phase in the Harar sector. The Italians use their newly arrived units to flank the Ethiopian line here, attacking this independent unit. The result of the airstrike is that a unit is eliminated. The Ethiopians choose the unit to eliminate. They will eliminate the 410 unit. The result of this 6-1 attack is that the defender has to retreat 4 hexes, and the attacker can advance 4, but because the first hex, the one occupied by the defender, is in the zone of control of another unit, the advance halts right there. The result of this 6-1 attack is that the defender is eliminated and the attacker can advance 1 hex. That's the Ethiopian 16th turn. See here, the 2nd Army is falling back on Gondar and shortly won't have any more space to retreat. There is a gap with a very weak 210 unit there between the 2nd and the 5th Army, which is the only army in front of the capital this time. The 9th Army, which is over here, is ready now to cross the river and also block the Italians on their way to the capital. Meanwhile, the 6th Army is in a position to perhaps make a flanking river attack against this black shirt division. The Ethiopian 2nd Army forms a line in front of Gondar here. The independent unit has shifted closer to Gondar. The Ethiopians are using this river as a barrier, and the Fifth Army is positioned next to the river together with some guard regiment, some independent units. The remainder of the Seventh Army with this free stacking regiment has moved here to this Amba terrain, which is a strong position, and the Ninth Army has moved next to Dese. Meanwhile, the Sixth Army has decided, since it cannot split and attack both, because it would have to be, their units would have to be at least 2 hexes from our headquarters to not be disrupted, to form a defensive line here in the valley. And meanwhile, in the front here, Harar front, the units occupying Harar plus this independent unit are launching an attack against this Italian unit, which is in jungle terrain and has unfavorable combat shifts. This 3-1 attack causes this unit to retreat 2 hexes, and the Ethiopians can advance 1. That is the final position there. It is now the Italian 17th turn, and they received a unit. This black shirt unit starts here in Massawa. These are the positions before the Italian movement phase in the main front. The Italians don't conduct any attacks this turn, but are using their air forces to soften off specifically the Second Army defending Gondar. And on this side of the front, there's an airstrike against elements of the Sixth Army. And in the Harar sector, there is an attack against this independent unit near Harar with air support. The 8-1 attack causes this unit to retreat 4 hexes, and the attackers can advance 3. These are the positions at the end of the advance. These units with asterisk on the movement factors, they can ignore zones of control, so they are advancing past Harar to try to outflank the Ethiopian line there and force the Harar defenders to attack these units in the next turn. This airstrike is ineffective. The airstrike against the unit of the Second Army here is also ineffective. Now this airstrike destroys the Second Army headquarters, which means that the remaining Second Army units that are defending Gondar are now disrupted and will defend and move at half strength. Situation at the end of the Italian 17th turn. They have managed with their airstrike to seriously weaken the Second Army, which is the only army defending this objective town of Gondar here. Meanwhile, they have not advanced further in the main front in their route to the capital, nor have they managed to capture Dese. However, they have accomplished surrounding the Harar garrison, which will have to attack since it cannot move. It will have to attack Italian units in the next turn and probably either retreat or be destroyed in the retreat. 17th Ethiopian turn, they receive reinforcements. They receive a 410 independent unit here in Gore, and they receive a 2-6 infantry division, not very impressive, here in the capital. Before we continue, in order to facilitate the viewing of the disrupted units, we're gonna take off those disrupted markers and substitute them for these discs, which we will place under the units. These are positions at the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. The situation hasn't changed here. In front of Gondar, there's not much Ethiopians can do, actually. The Ethiopians have sent the reinforcement heading this way. Are trying to strengthen the line here in the path to the capital. The Ninth Army now is adjacent to the objective town. And in the Harar front, we see that The 6th Army has stretched its position to cover the valley, and in this inevitable attack that we have here with the 8th Army, which is occupying Harar, we have the 6th Army coming to help to attack this unit or both units. So we'll have at least 3 units attacked here in the combat phase. So the attacks are split this way. The 8th Army is attacking this Askari unit. This independent unit is attacking the motorized cavalry, and the 6th Army units are attacking the infantry regiment. First attack is a 4-to-1 because of the jungle, because it would normally be 3-to-1, and the result is that the defender retreats 2 and the attacker advances 1. The next attack here results in both attacker and defender being engaged. And the last attack here, which is 1-to-1, also results in both units being engaged. Situation at the end of the Ethiopian 17th turn. They have a tenuous line here in the Gondar sector. Even more tenuous line, it's basically the jungle protecting this area here. They have strengthened their positions in the mountains before the capital, and in the Harar sector there are a group of units that are engaged in combat, and that will halt the Italians in their conquest of that city there, because if they want to leave that engaged result without effect, they would have to counterattack in their next turn or wait another turn for the Ethiopians to resolve that attack, and that's going to go against their timetable. They only have 5 more turns to accomplish their victory conditions. Now it's the Italian 18th turn. Italians are concentrating their main attack against these 2nd Army units, which, because they are leaderless, their combat factors are halved, rounded up, and they will bring air support to those attacks. There's no attack in the vicinity of Desi. The Italians have concentrated their units here, and they are going to counterattack the Ethiopian engaged unit, the 8th Army. In addition, they are also counterattacking the independent unit with this stack, and the idea is to make this independent unit retreat, hopefully destroy the Harar unit if it has no other place to retreat also. Air units are allocated to this attack here against the 8th Army in Harar, and also the air units are allocated to the attacks in the vicinity of Gondar. Start with this 5-to-1 attack, and it's an exchange, so the Ethiopian unit is eliminated, and the Italians have to lose 2, so they lose this mechanized regiment. However, the Italians occupy the space. The 2-to-1 attack here results in all units being engaged. This is going to really slow down the Italian attack. Finally, the Sokov attack here, which is a 1-to-4 attack, forces the attacker 3 hexes back, and the defender can advance 3 hexes. However, since the first hex was the one occupied by the unit, it's only 1 hex advance. We have the attacks around Gondar. These 2 units, 20 combat factors plus the aircraft, 26 against this unit, which has 3. So it is 3 times, that's 8-to-1, but because they're in mountains, it becomes 7-to-1, but because the aircraft is supporting it, it is an 8-to-1 attack. They're eliminated. and the attacker advances 1, and we're going to advance 1 here. Next attack is against this unit. 8 plus 12 combat factors from the aircraft is 20, plus the support of this headquarter, which is 1 more than the combat factor, is 24, and they have 3 here, so it's 8-1. Because of the mountains, it's 7, but because there's aircraft supporting it, is an 8-1 attack. The result is that the defender is eliminated, and the attacker can advance 1 space. The last attack is attack made by, these 2 units, the support of this headquarters and the aircraft. It is 10-1 attack, but it is resolved in the 8-1 column. The result is that the defender retreats 4, it is surrounded, it cannot retreat, so it is eliminated, and the attacker can advance 4. And that means that the objective town will fall. The result of the advance is that this artillery unit marched 4 hexes, occupied the objective town of Gondar, while this infantry unit marched 4 hexes and stationed itself adjacent to the 210 unit on the Blue River. At the end of the Italian turn, they have captured 1 objective city, Gondar. They are surrounding the remnants of the 2nd Ethiopian army, and there is a more solid line here on the front, that is in front of the capital. Now the situation around this is more tenuous for the Italians. They have not placed any units adjacent, and the situation around Harar is uncertain because of the engaged results in the previous turn. Ethiopian turn 18. Situation at the beginning of the movement phase. At the end of the movement phase, this unit could not move because it was surrounded by zones of control. This unit was not, so it moved to help out this unit in the attack. Now this unit will attack this one, and the 2nd Army unit will attack the mountain division. In the rest of the front, the Ethiopians moved the independent unit here, this guard unit here to strengthen the front here, but no attacks, no other attacks along that front. Because these units are more than 2 hexes away from their commander or leader, they are marked as disrupted. So they will only have half combat strength and half movement factors. The situation for the Ethiopians is desperate because this unit is practically surrounded. So these disrupted units, they will cause combat to keep a line of supply open for the units in Harar. So these 2 units are attacking the Black Shirt 1st Division. Here's a 1-1 attack. The result is that the attacker retreats 1, and the defender advances 1. That's the advance. The attack against this unit is 1-4, and the result is A back 2, and the defender advances 1. This unit attacks the mountain unit, and it is 1-4, and the result is attacker back 2, defender advances 1. So the attacker retreats 2 hexes, but because this other unit is here, it facilitates its escape, and the defender advances 1. Final attack, this unit against the artillery unit, is a 1-2 attack, and the result is A back 1, defender advances 1. So the attacker retreats 1, and the defender advances 1. Italian's 19th turn. These are the positions before the movement phase on the main front. Situation at the end of the movement phase, and we have attacks against these two units of the 5th Army. They're going to be supported by air, and basically all the air units are going to provide support to that attack, and maybe 1 or 2 air units in finishing off these units here. In this front here, this unit actually was unsupplied, even though in the movement phase this other unit came adjacent to it, but it is supplies judged at the beginning of the movement phase. So these are positions at the end of the movement phase. This unit comes here. We will repeat the engaged attack from last turn, which should take care of the 8th Army. See that in the main front, air units have been brought in support of this the main attack here, and 1 air unit also supporting the attack on the pocket. The 4-to-1 attack against this unit forces it to retreat 1 hex. It cannot, so it is eliminated, and the attackers can advance 1 hex. And the 2-to-1 attack here is a contact result, so it stays just like it is there. The attack here with air support and support from the headquarters is a 3-to-1 attack. The result is 4. D back 1 and attacker advances 1. So here are the units at the end of the advance. We have a 3-to-1 attack against Harar, and the result is 6 engaged again. Now we have the attack of the out of supply unit here against these 2 disrupted Ethiopian units. It would be 1-to-2, and the result is A back 1, D advances 1. So the out of supply unit can retreat here, and the attackers can advance 1, so we can have at least 1 of them advance there and place a disrupted marker on the other unit. Now we go to the Ethiopian turn of turn 19. Now as these disrupted markers are removed, however, this unit is disrupted because it's more than 2 hexes from its leader. The 6th Army decides just to form a line here and not risk trying to save the 8th Army that is basically trapped in Harar. There's only 3 more turns for the Italians to achieve the victory conditions. The positions in the main front, this unit will have to attack here and probably will be eliminated. And these units have to decide whether they stay there and attack these powerful Italian divisions or they fall back 1 more hex. Positions at the end of the movement phase. The Ethiopians decided to fall 1 hex back and form a strong line. And you have to, here you have like more than 1 line of defenses. The 9th Army that was stationed here march all the way back to form a 2nd line of defense behind the main line of defense. So basically the Ethiopians are practically giving up Dese in the next turn, exchanging Dese for saving the capital and seeing if to see if the Italians are going to be short in reaching the capital by 1 turn. This attack is resolved in the 1-6 column. It is attacker eliminated, and the defenders advance 1 hex, and that's the end of that. Italian 20th turn. Okay, this unit now is supplied, So we take the out of supply marker away. The Italians have a cluster of units here that won't be able to reach the front line in this turn, so they'll have to attack with whatever they have here to try to push the Ethiopians back 1 or 2 hexes. But there seems to be 2 lines of defenses here, and they're going to have to use some forces to actually capture Desi. So this turn may not signify much advances for the Italians. So what we're seeing here is we have several units going up this road trying to come from behind and attack Addis Ababa from this direction. There's only 1 unit in the vicinity here, which is a weak independent unit. Now there's strong attacks here by divisions of infantry against the 5th Army and against this Guard regiment. Then the all-out attacks will probably be in the next turn. In addition, there is an attack here to push this unit back, which is in front of Desi. The situation around Harar. These units will have to attack again the 8th Army this turn. And these units have some freedom of action, but there's not many of them. Okay. Gauge marker should have come off. These 2 units, let's see what we do with them. Okay, these units will join the attack against Harar. And basically, the Italian strategy here is to use all available units to assure the fall of Harar, which is essential for them to have any chance of winning. The main front, we have 2 groups of air units assigned to each one of the attacks. The 3-1 attack calls for the defenders to retreat 2. They cannot retreat, they're eliminated. So that's the end of the Ethiopian 8th Army. And the Italians advance 1 hex, so they occupy Harar, this time with substantial force. Now we go to this combat. 12 combat factors plus 4 in support is 16. Divided by 2 is 8-1, but the jungle there makes it 7-1. The mountain makes it 6-1. 6-1 attack. And the result is 4 defender back 4, attacker advances 3. And the defender retreated here. The attacker can only advance into the original hex because there's a zone of control of this unit here, which is in Massif. Next attack is this 7-1 attack against the Guard regiment, and it is defender eliminated, and the attackers advance into the vacated hex. The last attack here with headquarter and aircraft support, it is a 8-1 attack. The result is defender eliminated and the attackers advance 1. Here we have the positions at the end of the advance. So the Italians were able to destroy some units, at least advance into the vacated hex, vacated hexes, in preparation for the main attacks in the next turn. And we're seeing that the Italians actually now control 3 of the 4 key towns. They have Gondar here, Desi, and Harar, and they need to occupy Addis Ababa, which is here where the emperor is, and occupy it with one of the army headquarters. We have De Bono's army headquarters here, and Graziani, who looks like he's not going to make it to Addis Ababa in 2 turns. So that is the situation as we move now to Ethiopian turn number 20. So now it is turn 20 for the Ethiopians. These are the initial positions of the Ethiopian forces near the Harar sector. I'm going to go now to the Ethiopian movement phase. See the situation at the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. There's just this spoiling attack, which is going to be a 1-1 attack, but needs to be coordinated first to see if the Ethiopians get at least an engaged result that will delay the advance for one turn. This independent unit is blocking the road so that when these units come marching, they have to attack it. We have the 6th Army has fallen back closer to Addis Ababa, and the line defending Harar has been depleted of its units. We have one of the former units there heading towards the capital because the battle is going to be decided in this area. So let's go to this attack here. The result of this 1-2 attack is that the attacker has to retreat 2 and the defender advances 1. So we retreat the attackers 2 hexes, and this unit can retreat here. There's a disrupted unit, and the defenders can advance 1, so they can advance actually into this hex. We'll put this unit there. So we have Italian units 2 hexes away from the capital, but there's a lot of Ethiopian units in the way. So the Italians are going to have to attack, make some low odds attack to be able to push many of these units back and capture the capital in 2 turns, which is what they have left. Here we go to Italian turn 21. These are the positions at the beginning of the Italian movement phase of turn 21. So the positions at the end of the Italian movement phase, basically this unit will be soaking off against this unit. This stack will be attacking this 9th Army unit. This stack will be attacking these 2 units, and it's going to have to be with support of massive air power and headquarters in order to retreat those units. Now in this area, Graziani's forces are making an all-out attack on the 6th Army, and it's designed to soak off against this stack and create a gap here where these motorized forces can punch a hole through and see if they can arrive next turn within the outskirts of the capital. We have the allocation of air power to the attacks. We have 2 units in this attack here, 1 unit here, 2 units in this attack here, and 1 unit allocated here. All these units are attacking this unit. It is a 6-1 attack, and they roll a 1, eliminated, and attackers advance 1. They were hoping for more hexes to advance. They only get to advance 1 hex. Now this attack here is a 2-1 attack, not very promising, but they roll a 1, D back 2, and the attackers advance 1. And this 1 force soak off attack results in an engaged, all units engaged, so we place markers on them. Now the first attack here, this stack against this unit and these 2 air units, 7-1 attack. 1 defender eliminated, attacker advances 1 hex. They don't want to be not unsupplied, so they just advance with 1 unit. Okay, just a small blooper. In the movement phase, we forgot to move the Bono's headquarters, so we're going to move him here, where he reaches easily with 4 movement points. Now we're going to resolve the attack. These two regular infantry divisions attacking these 9th Army units with support of this air unit and De Bono's headquarters. It's a 5-1 attack, D back 2. So these units have to retreat 2 hexes. An attacker advances 1. So we have 2 infantry divisions adjacent now, in addition to the mountain unit, to the capital. Next attack, the 810 Ascari with the support of the corps headquarters and these 2 air units. So they have 12 and 12, 24, divided by 5. It is 4-1, reduced by mountains to 3-1, but increased by 1 for planes. It's a 4-1 attack. And the result is 1, D back 4, A advances 3. So these units retreat 4. And the attackers advance 3. They'll be advancing, the unit will be advancing into the vacated hex, and that will be it. And finally, we have this 5-1 attack here. It's going to resolve now. So 1, D back 4, A advances 4. So this unit retreats 4 hexes. And the attacker advances 4. Situation at the end of the Italian 21st turn. They have pushed back the Ethiopians, gaining 2 hexes adjacent to the capital where the emperor is. And the Ethiopians don't have a very powerful army to dislodge them. Remember that the Ethiopians, if they attack with units of more than 1 formation, they have to roll for coordination. And for attack to be coordinated, they have to roll 3 through 6. So there's a 2 in 6 chance that it will not be coordinated. So next turn, we'll probably see the Ethiopians making some sort of attack, either to engage the units or try to push them back 1 hex. Because the last turn, the Italians were definitely making all-out assault on the capital. They have to occupy it with De Bono's headquarters, who will have to advance into one of the attacking spaces in order for the headquarters to be able to advance at the end of the combat. So let's see how the turn develops. We're going now to the Ethiopian 21st turn. Ethiopian 21st turn. Well, De Bono needs to be able to advance here to attack. As things stand now, he could move here. He could not move here because it is adjacent. He would have to stop here if he enters this hex because it is adjacent to this unit. So the clue for the Ethiopians actually is to put a zone of control here to prevent De Bono from moving here. That will win the game for the Ethiopians, meaning that the Ethiopians have to launch an all-out attack against this unit and retreat it. This is an 810 unit. And they have 3 hexes from which to stage the attacks. What they don't have is very powerful units. And whatever units they have, for example, the 7th Army is down to 5 combat factors. The 9th Army could stack these 2 units here. But any independent unit would have to stack alone. I mean, just 1 unit. The Emperor could stack with this unit and any other unit. So we may see the Emperor involved in the attack. And they need to dislodge that unit. And this unit has a 1 shift column to the left, 1 column shift to the left because it's in mountain. So let's take a look at the combat result table to see what kind of result the Ethiopians need. Supposing they get a 2-to-1 odds, they would need a 1 and 2. to be successful. Under a 3-to-1, with a 1, with an exchange, with a 1-to-4, it would be successful. So they have to get 3-to-1 odds. The problem is the 3-to-1 odds, they actually need 4-to-1 odds, because with the mountains, it goes back here. So they would need 4-to-1 odds, 32 combat factors. I don't see them pulling 32 combat factors from anywhere. I think it's more likely that they will pull 2-to-1 odds by obtaining 3-to-1 odds. Column shift for the mountain, so they need to get at least 24 to get a 1 in 3 chance of retreating that unit. So let's see where the units can come from. This is going to be live here. The 9th Army here will move to this hex. Now this is a free stacking unit. If it can reach here, it's another, or here, would be here, would be 4 movement points. This jungle is 5 movement points. 6, 7, or 5, 6, plus 5, 11. So this unit can only reach here. This is a free stacking unit here. Now we have this other space here, but by putting a unit here, we would have to attack here, but we could probably do that with a soak off. So let's say we actually it's going to be 2 hexes. There's nobody to get here. Anybody who's stationed here will have to attack this unit. There's no units from other fronts that can get there. This unit is too far away. 5, 7. 7th Army. Well, the Emperor has to move. We'll use him. 2 plus 3, 5. The Emperor can stack with any unit. Stack him here. And we can here we would need a 5th Army unit. It's the only other unit that could stack. So that's about it for these. There's nobody else that can stack there. We can get these people out so we can get a stronger unit here. Now by taking the Emperor out, we're really weakening the capital, but I'm assuming the Italians can capture the capital anyway, what they have. What I'm betting on is blocking De Bonos's access to an attacking hex. So that's what we're aiming at. No other units are going to be able to reach, because this is going to be here 6, 8, 9, 10. So these units don't reach. So that's going to be the end of the Ethiopian movement phase. There's going to be several attacks. This attack is going to probably cause the elimination of a unit. So let's go to the Ethiopian combat phase. Well, it's also important to mention that these units are adjacent. They will have to attack unless they move back. So if we move this one back, we move this one back, this one will probably have to attack together. Problem here is whoever's in the capital is going to have to attack. So this is going to really change the landscape of the game here, because the Ethiopians are now forced to attack at really, really bad odds, and that's going to cause them to retreat. They may lose the capital now. So I'm just trying to avoid most of the attacks, but even the unit in Addis Ababa is going to have to attack this huge stack here. Unless the Emperor joins here, it's going to be even a more long shot. So let's go to the combat phase. This is going to be an Italian win, apparently. Go live on this one. This unit's going to attack this, and this unit, these three. Let's see if it can do it at legal odds. It's going to be 4, 7, 12, 2, 12. 1 to 6 with the mountains, 1 to 7. So it's 1 to 6. It's on the 1 to 6 column, but I think the rules say that to be able to attack, there's a minimum odds ratio. Odds lower than 1 to 6 are not allowed. The attacker is automatically eliminated. And okay, so it's going to be, we're going to attack these 3 units, 8 to 12. That's 1 to 6, it's 1 to 7. So he's automatically eliminated. The attackers advance 3. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. So now, the next unit it's going to attack is going to be, okay, we had, going to be this unit. Attacking here at 1 to 3 odds with the mountains, 1 to 4, which is very bad also. 1 to 4, 1. A back 1, D advances 1. So this unit moves back 1. The mountain unit advances 1. So now they have another hex from which to attack the capital. And now the 7th Army here, together with these units, is going to have to attack these. So they have a total of 5, the Emperor 8, plus 9, 17 divided by 18. Gee, just my 1 combat point. Also, let's attack with the minimum we need here. We need 9 to get 1 to 3 then. So 5, the Emperor is going to be 3 more, 8. Okay, it's going to be these 2 units plus the Emperor, 8 divided into 18. It's 1 to 3, 1 to 4. There's no attacker eliminated there. 1 to 4 with the Emperor, 1. A back 1, D advances 1. So A back 1. And the funny thing here is this unit cannot retreat 1 because cannot stack with an independent unit. I think these are independent, so they cannot stack with that one. The Emperor can stack with independent unit. And the defenders advance 1, so they take the capital there. Now what we have left is the attack. We have 9 here, plus 2, 11, plus 2, 13, and 3 here because it's disrupted. 16, so it's 2 to 1 because of the mountains, 1 to 1 against the Askaris. 1 and 1 is 5 contacts, so they stay right there. So that's the situation at the end of the Ethiopian 21st turn. Okay, last turn for the Italians, turn 22. There's a very interesting situation here. If you take a look, you'll see that De Bono, even though the Italians already captured the capital here, he cannot move into it. It's 2 to enter the mountain hex. 2 plus 2, 4, 6, he would end up here. From here, he can't attack anybody. He couldn't advance anywhere. So De Bono has to get himself involved attacking at least this, the Ninth Army here, and in the advance, if there's no zones of control, problems, advance into the capital. So this probably means that the Italians will have to attack this unit, and who knows, maybe this unit, to make space for the Bono to be able to advance into the headquarters. We're going to go live on this one in the movement phase. This unit moves here 3, 4, 5, 6. I need to put more units here. Or this unit could actually do this. It's a strong unit. Now we have to put somebody here. And I was thinking about that 5, 10. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the Bono has to get himself involved in this attack because he can't reach it. He can't attack from here. So he can't support. He has to attack. So he's going to go 2 and 4. But before that, let me see. I'm going to go 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4. Well, the Italians, not all units can reach here. 2, 4, 6. That's another unit we forgot about. 2, 4, 6. And here we have be what, 3, 5, 7. This guy won't reach here. Just leave him there. I think we forgot to resolve this attack actually, the Ethiopian turn. Let's resolve it now. Just a second. It's a 1-to-1 attack. 5 contact, so they stay like that anyway. Okay. We continue here. We bring this unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See if we can support anything. And this unit will move back. This unit will support there. Over here. He's going to move here. Now these units are in zones of control, but won't be able to contribute much anyway to the last turn. So just going to move him here. We don't want them even to attack here. And this disruption is gone. Oh no, he remains disrupted because he's more than 2 hexes. So these are the positions here. We're going to have attacks. This unit against this one against this one, this stack against the Emperor's stack. De Bono will attack here together with this unit, and this unit will soak off against these ones. And De Bono needs to advance at least 2 hexes. 2 hexes, which could be 1, 2. Okay. So let's start resolving the battles. Okay, this may be the last series of attacks here. We have some soak-off attacks here. Not very important here. Okay, we have a 7 between 4, 1-to-1. It's going to be a 1-to-2, 3, A back 2. Attacker advances 1. That's advancing. Now this is another soak-off attack, but we can solve it later. Now this attack here actually is a big blooper. The Emperor was left here in harm's way. And if he's eliminated, the Italians win the game. So the Italians, however, they got to make sure if they don't eliminate him, they still have the other way of winning. So the Italians are going to attack the Emperor with the mountain unit and these air units. So it's going to be 36 between 5. It's actually 7-to-1 because of the mountains, 6-to-1, and because of the Air power against 7-1. And a 5 is rolled. D back 4, A advances 3. So the emperor lives to tell the tale. A back, D back, what? D back 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the attacker advances 3. They can only advance 1 anyway, because of zones of control. Now this attack, here we have these two units, 17, 21 plus 8, 29, 38, plus the air units, 48, 50, divided by 9. 9 times 5. 5-1 because of the mountains, 4-1 because of the aircraft, 5-1 again. So 5-1 attack. A 3, D back 4, A advances 3. So these guys, the only path of retreat has to be this way, back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Attacker advances 3. So you're going to have now these guys advance 1, this guy's 1, and De Bono advances 1 and 2. Advances on the capital. So that would be it. The rest would be soak-off attacks, and there's no way they're going to dislodge this De Bono from the capital, so that's the end of the game right there. It's late win at the buzzer for the Italians. Much worse than historically. The emperor gets himself almost killed in that last turn. That was a little sloppy there. But that's the end of the game. Ended in turn 22. Very, very marginal Italian win. Here's the situation. And the combat phase, very interesting. The Italians have supported these attacks. There's many soak-off attacks. There's an attack here, an attack here, an attack against the emperor. If he gets killed, that's the end of the game. So it's not very intelligent to put him in front line, but I guess the Ethiopians had no choice there. And this hex has to be dislodged. De Bono has to then be able to advance here. So that means that there must be no zone of control projected by Ethiopians in this hex, nor in this one. So these units have to push these Ethiopians back. So let's start resolving the combats. The first one we're going to resolve is this one, 7-4, 1-1, but because of the mountains it's 1-2. We have a 1, D back 1, A advances 1. So defender back 1, attacker advances 1. This is a non-consequential attack. This is a soak-off attack we're going to do later. This one, this is one with the emperor. Let's do this attack. So this unit is attacking this stack with the support of these aircraft and this headquarters. So it's 8 plus 4, 12, plus 12, 24. And here they have 2, plus 2, 4, plus half of that, plus 3, 7. So it's 24-7. It's a 3-1 because of the mountains, 2-1 because of the aircraft, a 3-1 attack. Just a 3-1 attack. This unit cannot join in because it has to attack this unit. So it's a 3-1 attack. A 5 results in contact, so they do not dislodge these units. So De Bono may not be able to advance into the capital at all in this turn. So we solved that attack. Now let's go to the yeah, De Bono won't be able to advance because advancing here, he would have to stop because of the zone of control of these, who would be now the heroes of the war. So the only other way that the Italians can win is by eliminating Selassie So they're going to execute that attack here. Going to use everybody, I guess. So it's 9 plus 8, 17, 29, 41, 41, and this headquarters, 44, divided to 5, it's 8 to 1, because of the mountain 7 to 1, and because of the aircraft 8 to 1, so it's an 8 to 1 attack. They need 1 through 4 to eliminate him. And they rolled a 1, so they eliminated the Emperor. So they instantly win right now. Eliminate the Emperor, advance 1 hex, game over. So, wow. So that decision of putting the Emperor there to fight out to see if they could capture a hex to block with zones of control, it was not very good at all. The Emperor gets eliminated in the next turn. So that's the end of the game right there. Even though the Italians captured the capital, they could not place their army headquarters there. However, they eliminated the Haile Selassie unit. They eliminated the Lion of Ethiopia. So that's the end of the game. The Italians win what by historical measure would be a very, very marginal victory. Even worse than historically, I suppose. Well, that's it.